So I guess while we're waiting, we might as well just make our own conversations, I guess, until something happens.
Yeah.
So,
So
oh, go
you
ahead.
not you're not affiliated with any church in your area?
Holy shit, I was about to ask you that. Like, that you go, that, tried to get me into it. I went a few times. It's just, it just feel like you kind of learn the same thing, I guess. It just doesn't really separate itself from the other religions before.
Hmm? How you mean?
Like how one deity is always more supreme than everything else. It just kind of feels the same as other mythologies if you kind of look into it, like all the other stories and the other
No.
pantheons.
Well, okay. Well, um, it is a difference. It is a difference. The Bible is is actually a living book. Or should I say it is a the books is alive. The book is alive. You have to if you study the well, not just study, but if you read the four Gospels, when you read, just don't read, but listen to what Jesus is saying. Then, by the power of the Holy Spirit, you would understand that He is God. But see, people put it in a different aspect. The aspect of the whole thing is that He did came in the flesh. God came in the flesh. I mean, God come in the flesh. Okay, He came.
So
He
Jehovah
he
didn't exist.
he came. He came in a human body. He came in a human body, and and he was 100% God, but he was also 100% man. And the gist of the whole thing is that he wanted people to figure it out for themselves by the way he speak. But when he spoke, they made it seem like he was being arrogant or he was like crazy, but he wasn't. He was actually God in a body.
So not the son of Jehovah, or Allah, or
Yes,
Allah, or
yes,
Yahweh.
well, yes,
But you said he was God. Jehovah was God, but that doesn't really make any
yeah,
sense,
but
though.
okay, he was okay.
So he's another God. So there's a
No,
pantheon.
no, he's not another God. He is the same God. He is the same God, but
So Jehovah is Jesus, or Jesus Jehovah.
it is exactly. And if
But
you
why does he
when
talk to
you
Jehovah, or talk about him in
well
third person?
because you know what? It is because he came he came through Mary. If that makes sense. He choose Mary to be his mother. but he didn't choose Joseph to be his father because Joseph was tainted like us. So he used the woman without using the man, but he used the woman through the Holy Spirit. If you can understand that, I don't know if you could understand that or not, but
Uh,
okay, like when, like when, you remember Gabriel, the angel,
yes.
when Gabriel spoke to Mary,
Hmm.
and how he said to her that she was blessed among women.
Yeah.
Okay, so and when he told her, if you actually pay attention to what he was telling her, he was actually telling her that she would be endowed by God to bring a son into this world. In other words, what it is that what's happened is that God um, allow himself to become human, but still be God. To become human, to in other words, live like us, feel our weakness.
So he's just
Go
learning what we've been through.
exactly, without being sin, not but sinless.
So how was he supposed to be human without any sort of flaws to work with?
Because say that again now.
What? How comes? How did he expect to become an actual person like the rest of us if he rem chose to remain flawless? I mean, that's still being
It is because
a
it
different
is
being.
because he had to in the whole aspect of everything is that he had to fulfill the prophecy, but still be God.
I guess you can't call that one a vulnerability. I guess. Never mind. Point taken.
But to understand it, you got to read it for yourself. I mean, because don't care how much I explain it to you, you have to read it. You have to read it and just ask him for the understanding. Because it's a lot of things that he speaks about. He speaks about things on the earth and things in heaven. He speaks spiritual things and also earthy things.
But you just said that twice.
Yeah, I understand. I just said it twice, but you like for instance, he would take an example. He would well, he I call it an example. The Bible call it a parable. He'll say a parable, but when he says the parable is true. He don't name the individual. He don't name the person or place where the person lived at that time. But when he speaks about the parable, when he speaks a parable, the parable he's actually talking about a person that actually lived on the planet. A person like when he was in heaven, he actually saw what was going on with this person in heaven. And he in other words, he tried to relate those parables with everyday life.
I I still don't think I'm interested. because I hear so many different perspectives, like different stories of it from so many other Christians that I don't even know what exactly is official, really. So what am I
Okay, so
supposed to?
what? So what you? Okay, I'm about to tell you what you're about to do. You have to read it for yourself. You have to read the Bible for yourself. You have to pursue Him for yourself. That's the way you get the understanding. It was the same way with me, just like it is with you. But I learned that I have to pursue Him for myself, and that's what I did, and that's how I got the understanding. He'll give you understanding if you ask for understanding, and if you really want understanding.
So what about
If
Mars or
you
any
really
other?
want,
So what about all the other planets or other galaxies or other alternative paradoxes or omniverses and infinities and whatnot?
those are what He created.
Uh,
Is that
okay,
I mean
whatever.
that's all I that's all I can say about
The
that.
the okay,
But now I mean when you say in paradox, what are you talking about? But when you say paradox,
like the multiverse, like they say he's only the god of this entire universe, but but the multiverse and omniverse and everything bigger than that is bigger than one compared to one universe. That's just a speck of dust, really.
yeah.
So
Are you talking about Ben 10 by chance?
where the fuck have you been? He
Shower,
just comes
playing
out
with the
of.
kitty cat. Yeah.
No, we was talking about Jesus coming, being a man,
Uh,
and 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 still being God.
I
okay.
don't know where Toady is. I don't know where. We just don't know where he is.
Yeah. All right. Can you send
There's
me an invite,
something.
please?
I really don't know where he
Sorry.
is. I don't know what's going on. I'm also kind of worried about that.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. I'm gonna sign off, guys.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
All right,
It's nice seeing you.
all right, all right. Good night.
See you, Ark.
All right.
I just wish he hadn't brung that up. Well, nobody else is like around.
Uh, I'm sorry. Say that again. I was in the middle of some dialogue.
I wish like he would have just brought that up a little bit early, like a bit later or earlier, where everyone else is on. Because I just
Brought
don't know
what up?
how to respond to everything he says.
Hmm. Oh, I see. So you had more people to talk to with him,
Yeah, just to
or
back
like
me
had more
up
people
on
to. Yeah.
trying to explain what I have to say, because I'm terrible with speeching. I just feel like some people just take advantage of that.
Yeah. I don't know, but I get what you mean. Yeah. I. Yeah. I have trouble, especially when like everything's focused on me and I'm expected to speak. I have a hard time explaining things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But like the conversation about Jesus, I wasn't sure if that was actually
Yeah,
if like he meant that was
he
that's
said that
actually what
Jesus
y'all
was
meant.
God instead of being the Son of God, and
Uh,
that's making me take all this less seriously now because there's just so many perspectives of it. And I just don't think they really know their religion.
yeah, that's why I have a hard time believing religion. It's completely believing not just the idea of how things could happen, but how things have already happened. Like also like because like some of these religions or most of these, well, all pretty much all religions, exactly, or basically, affect like a great part of history, like the beginning of it, and important parts throughout it, like with Jesus. So
It's just
it's basically, yeah.
like, don't they have like so many other heroes in the stories? Why can't they just bring them up or something for once? It's just always the same thing they bring up, but they just say it in so many different ways just to make it seem new. And I hate it because they're not creative with this. And I'm highly disappointed. I'm so surprised it's not even vanished. I'm surprised it hasn't disappeared. I'm surprised it hasn't aged like hundreds of years back. Like, I'm surprised we don't have anything other just to replace it, to just make things better.
What,
It
religion?
really, no, the religion today, it just sucks. It sucks ass.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, what was I gonna say about religion? Because I, in many cases, I'm pretty much a see it to believe it kind of guy.
Yeah,
You know, I rely on facts, and like,
yeah, same.
cause there
Sometimes.
can be, yeah, because when thinking about it, like there can be many perspectives or different, how do you say, different possibilities of how things did happen, like Jesus and who he really was, but it's a lot of speculating about something that we don't really know for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and not only that, bringing up his name so much is what irritates me a lot.
Mhm. Like how so?
Just,
Like
I don't know, just like bringing up the same thing a lot. Just bring up the same
so
name. Like,
yeah. So
if I were to say crop like almost every sentence, they really suck with their vocabularies, is what I hate about it too.
so
I'm,
you want religions to be more diverse. You want them to have more connection, more stability, more
yes,
things to hold up the other, things to connect, like
in order
history.
to answer it, yes. Because what they're saying just pops out of fucking nowhere. It's terrifying and unforgivable. I take it less serious because they're just not creative with this shit. They only teach what they are taught, is my problem. But
Mm,
Archangel said he found it his own way, so that's what pisses me off even more. What do they know in general? What do they know as official to the story? And why don't we have hear any other heroes more often without bringing up Jehovah or Jesus once? Just without them being in it once. But seeing the
well,
other people's lives differently for just how they see things before they came to be with all the angels and whatnot. I just want to hear other people's lives without hearing about something, the main course every time. I want to hear about their lives without thinking about the main thing for once. I want to hear the subplots before then. I don't care. I've already heard so much about the deity, the Pantheon. I just want to know the heroes. I want to know their stuff, without bringing up the same shit,
hmm
without bringing them involved. I want to see
well,
how they made it on their own terms.
hmm
It's just,
so yeah.
wow.
So all right. So you're talking about pretty much like all of Christianity, correct?
Not just that necessarily, but anything else
Yeah.
that just remains simple, unnecessarily, and unwantingly.
Like Buddha.
I actually never really looked up into that as much, but I guess you can say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. With Buddha, not really, like a lot less, because I was going to go about how like there's more stories pertaining to God, because like Jesus is like of course he's like one of the main beliefs behind it, but like he's one of the parts that goes into Christianity or one of the views of it, like Jew and Catholic, but because like pretty much God's the main focus,
I
Jesus was just
just,
an integral part of it. But with Buddha, it's a much simpler religion, and there's not really like a great belief of how things started and how their things are to it. With Buddha, it was basically this guy who was royalty, very rich, but like wanted to see the world, and he decided to essentially like really just go out, be at most peace of mind as he can, and that's the key to the universe is just to find true inner peace. So if you know like those statues, like gold statues, like the maybe the many arms, hands up, like hand flat facing forward in front of them, you may
I
recognize it by like the bun or the hat with all the dots on top.
Okay. Sorry, I
They,
have a headache.
yeah.
Just I
Oh,
think about it all.
okay.
You
You need to
can
get some water?
no. I just every time anything like that's brung up, it just such a major headache. You can't.
Hey,
There's no escape from it.
hey, you don't have to worry about it. It's a lot of things to go through, all the connections of like the
I
main
just
beliefs for
yeah. I
hey,
just don't think they know what they're talking about.
hey, don't worry about it.
And
I
plus, why do they
am
call it God? Why do they call? Why does they just say Jehovah? Just say the actual
Jehovah.
name because there have been so many other gods before him. That's what
Yeah,
pisses me off more.
I remember the name Jehovah. I haven't
There was
heard it
no
much
one
though.
God. There was no singular one.
Mm.
I wish they would just shut the fuck up.
Ooh. So yeah, you really don't believe in religion, or at least
I want
Christianity,
to,
right?
but they make it so difficult to really do so. I just want to believe in spiritual entities or mentality. I want to believe in willpower. I want to believe in something else on the other side, but not like this. What? This is just an miserable excuse of faith. This is not faith at all. It's just pointless storytelling that angers everyone in new generations. Nobody gives a fuck.
Well,
They want us to care, but they can't make it happen. They just won't happen. So what are they doing? Just wasting their lives, just pushing it onto everyone, buying so many churches in every different property when they already have over hundreds of thousands of almost everywhere you go now. You can't fucking escape it. You're gonna make people less interested in the future because it's all over the fucking place. And like you
yeah.
said, there is no fucking variety. That's what pisses me off so goddamn much. I just wish more would be deconstructed. I don't care if it
Yeah.
angers other people. I don't care if it upsets others. If they say that church is within our hearts, then why do you go to the fucking buildings?
Well, yeah. I understand, because there's no solid, or a lot of times there's no solid facts to religions. There are or can be a lot of different perspectives to it, but that is one of the good things about there being a lot of different perspectives, is that while a lot of this stuff, a lot of these stories don't have major facts behind them,
Yeah.
they don't have a lot of things to connect them that they're real.
Yeah, they're just
Sometimes,
some of them are just there
sometimes
to
that's a
really
good thing.
inspire people and just change their minds to better themselves
Exact,
in the individual level.
exactly,
I,
and
I'm trying to
not
see it that way. I'm trying not to be so pissed. I didn't think I would
yeah.
go in an outburst like that.
Hey, not everybody can be affected by the same story in different ways or the same way. Everybody's different, and that's where different perspectives come. The same story, like with 10,000 people, the same story. I'll try not to use numbers since you have a headache.
Okay.
The same story can affect so many people, and so if there's no hard facts, and sometimes it's good to have hard facts though. If there's
Yeah.
different perspectives, is what I mean, that means that leads to more ideas that aren't always true, but different ideas and different perspectives can give people different insight in ways that help them.
That's
So in
another
the
issue,
end,
though. If there's something written new, they're just gonna say that God or Jehovah, or whatever, or Allah, whoever the fuck, just wrote it, and not nobody else. How are we
I
supposed to
get
get
it.
that into these people's heads? How are we supposed to fix him from this fucking insanity?
I I don't know. I mean,
They're
it's
always
not.
going to say that the deity wrote it instead of the person themselves, even though it's new. Let's say that the New Testament was written by freaking whoever, and not the people themselves. What the fuck? Why, if you're a deity that can do so many things infinitely, why do you need fucking books and a pen to write shit? When you can just simply tell it, like, psychopathically, a broadcast to all life. Why don't you just do that instead of talking about Earth all the time? They never
Mm,
bring up the rest of existence. They never talk about any other worlds. It's always about Earth. That's why I don't believe in Christianity. Because it's uncreative. There's
mm-hmm.
nothing left, there's nothing else to it other than that.
Well, that can also help with the different perspectives that help people. If there's a lot unanswered, that leads a lot of people to wanting answers, to making answers, and I'm running out of ideas with this.
Yeah, you
uh,
can't really go around
uh,
this.
no,
If you were to say this to any pastor, you think they would react the same way? Hopefully? Or maybe would they just try to make excuses to justify their teachings under
yeah,
very embarrassing occasions
yeah,
and make it worse on their ends.
yeah.
There's no other way out of this. It's just.
You
But I
just have to
see
be open.
I
It
know
helps to
I
be
see what you're
open.
trying to say. They're just trying to encourage you to find it yourself and not. It's trying to tell us to not listen to what people have to say and just find it on your
As I
own.
was,
It's
as
an
I was
encouragement
saying,
to make effort.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
it's okay. As I was saying, there's different perspectives with things, and even religion can be seen as that.
Archangel said earlier that I can just find it out for ourselves or something. He
Yeah,
did encourage us to find the answers on your own or something.
yeah,
He wasn't too
because
blindsided.
yeah,
No, I'm not trying to call him
that's
blind. That's the wrong word, but just he found what he
uh,
found and he shared it
think
based on what he's
he,
seen and read.
yeah, he's not just single-minded, is what you mean, right?
Yeah.
He's not just focused
No,
on one thing.
he's very wise, but
Hmm.
we just didn't really connect as well. But he did try his best to explain it in a very modern way.
Yeah, but when I get to thinking about it, with what I'm putting out there, with different looks on things, different perspectives. I'm hoping to use more different vocabulary, but I'm trying to keep the idea of perspectives. Um, like with different religions, I don't want to just say you could see it as. I think myself that with different religions, I think of Christianity and I think of Buddha. With Christianity, there's a lot of belief and faith that goes into it. But it's not just that. Even if they don't talk about it all that much, the stories that come in it, that come in the Bible, do come with hope, courage, rallying the people. Like with Moses, he he led people out of an oppressive empire. He was thrown away from his family, and I don't know if this is like where in the different like stories and movies, like the story gets a little bit different with that, but I know he comes back and with the help of God, but you also see kind of under his own intentions, mostly carried out by God, but you also see how he watches everything. He comes back and he not only finds ways or uses God's ways to get God's people, and I quote, God's people
Hmm.
out of that empire, he also like just leads them away from it. You see how he's leading this like cities worth of people, splits the ocean, and he leads them to a new place. That's not just having hope, believing in faith and wishing, like, hoping for the best. It's taking many people who were under dictatorship, people who were poor, people who were oppressed, and
Yeah.
it's not just having hope. It's they got away from that. They made a difference. Like what you're saying with religion, it's all the same. With that idea of how it's all the same, it all comes back to that. Something, while intended, somewhat different happened from that. Like a situation you may have not have thought of specifically happened from that one same belief. Out of that one same belief of like hope, faith, freedom is everyone's right. They used that in a situation to take people who were oppressed and lead them somewhere new through a hard and somewhat difficult journey. What I'm saying is that there are different stories in this, like in that one religion. And then what I'm thinking with Buddha is, while it may have not been like the universal key to life of finding inner peace, and then you've now basically reached the end of the road, which is not the idea, but you've basically reached the end of the road at ultimate success. Inner peace, or acceptance of peace, something that can really help people. But other people need help out of oppression. Other people need saving. Other people need protection.
Yeah.
Other people find a way to help other people. There's all these different things. You don't always need, and that's what I like about some churches, is that they don't just come back to that belief. Yes, there are a lot of the same stories. There are even more of the same people that are in those stories. But there's also quite a good amount of stories that you just need to not seeing how they're all shown the same way. That's the thing with some churches, that they try to show these stories in the same way. They try to show them under the same belief, under the same hope of where God is leading them through this entire thing. There's different stories in this. There's different ways how people went about this. There's different things that people were thinking. Because in the end, they show these stories of how, maybe not in the beginning, but in the end, and maybe throughout the story, they believed in God. Those stories aren't always that way. The biggest ones are.
I wish the word God didn't even exist. It's just, I don't know, it just saves a bit too much time, and it's just been said a lot. Just saying that one syllable in every sentence, it's just mind-blowing. It's just not in a good way. I just wish they would just say the fucking name, like how they would say in other mythologies. It's just Jehovah or Allah or whatever, and Yahweh, and it's separated in 5 religions too. So what am I supposed to believe here?
Well, that's the thing. That's the point I'm making. You don't need to focus on one thing. And that's one of the greatest things that I think you have. You have the freedom of imagination, of to realize there's not just this one thing. The thing is, you have the freedom to not have to believe in belief this whole time. You could go through your entire life without having to really think of that same idea of belief. Maybe you come back to it, maybe you want to come back to it, maybe you come back to it, but you don't have to. The fact is that while we're all here on the same planet, while maybe there's the same religion, maybe there's all these different religions, maybe that's it, but everybody can have a different story, which means not everything has to be the same. Therefore, there's diversity. We don't need to think about all the things that were the same before and all come back to the same story and don't have the same effect. We have the diversity now. we take what we want to think of it and use it now. So
Holy shit.
we're yeah.
Holy shit. Holy, all this fucking time, it was right under the fucking nostril. Crash, that was actually really helpful.
I try to make sense of things I can. Yeah. If it did happen, all those things in the past, even with the same belief, yeah, maybe they were made to be monumental moments in history. And they were still moments of where everything was supposed to have the same idea in the end. Everybody was supposed to have the same belief. That doesn't mean we have to keep going on, like, has to be the same action. Even if you didn't notice these different turns, these different directions that things and people took in life, we're still able to do that now. Different things can happen. Different things are going to happen.
Yeah, but just listen to this. Republicans and Democrats are just going all crazy about this. You got... No, I'm against the radical liberals right now. I chose the Reds against the Blues right now because of Joe Biden and because being a super puppet for China and all that. Especially Kamala Harris. They're just not the real heroes of the story. I'm just standing against them right now, but that doesn't stop me from, like, thinking that the really religious conservatives and other Reds are just trying to keep the same thing. They want to keep the tradition and prevent so much change. And then you got these radical liberals that are just, like, really trying to force that diversity down without a natural process. I think that's what's getting everyone rattled up, is when trying to keep the same, or trying to stay in the middle, or trying to change something, or just try to do both, just trying to keep it hand in hand. Nobody just doesn't know. It's just because of all these politics, it's making it hard to understand based on, like, what you said. Like, how are we supposed to make this true if everyone's just going political now, if it's just all over the place, and just people are just, like, shoving both old and new things down their throats, and just, like, how can we help people listen if so much pressure, if so much damage has already been done? How we... I don't know how he's supposed to fix that.
Yeah.
What's the whole point of teaching them something new if they're already mentally exhausted in the first place now? Especially after everything that's happened. I'm not giving up. I'm just trying to be like you right now. Just trying to be hopeful while also being a bit scientific and mathematic to an extent.
I'm just one for accepting. I mean, I've not had a lot of things come to me where I need to make a decision as people, and I'm kind of thinking about how, like, where people decide, like, in politics, where laws need to change, where things are unfair. I've not had a lot of decisions or seen decisions like that and kind of believe, or at least have the motivation behind decisions like that where things need to change. I'm just very accepting, and I always think about how I don't know everything. I don't know everything of what's right or wrong, but I just kind of see in the moment. For me personally, I always like to see into the moment. I just let whatever goes, whatever happens, I let whatever's moving. I don't think ahead of what's gonna happen. I don't think of how bad things used to be, because it can be very difficult. In politics, it can be very difficult to go from where this major event happened, or just even over time, just over the stillness of time, where it seems like some things need to change, and there doesn't need to be big debate over it. There just needs to be just simple, like, seeing, just looking of how things are, and yeah, what maybe can change. Because it can be very...
I just don't think that's what people want right now. They just want to blame someone. They just want someone to be punished. It's always... Yes, I do as well. I just want there to be justice, but at who at this point? Who is in charge and who's being controlled and just being used as a shield. Like, what's there to find out?
Yeah.
What's,
It could be, yeah.
yeah, because
It
it's
could be
just
very diff.
leaders all over the world, not just America, but just all over the world, are just way out of their heads and just destroying that variety, just destroying the effort itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so much for Christmas being about pure selflessness and just thinking things bigger than ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Me
I,
personally,
yeah,
if I were to create, if I were to create something like a holiday and have a purpose behind it, and how much it's changed over time, how it's viewed, yeah, that would bug me. Me personally, if because like it can be kind of understand, like how do I say? It's understandable when you try to make something big, um, that you want people to listen to, like have an understanding for it. It can be very hard to get over of where other people take that idea or just mold it, and more people listen to it, but for a different purpose. That can be kind of difficult to see that, but like sometimes that person, it's not always fair, and I don't really know what to do about that. For us in this situation, while I don't really like the idea that originally this was something different, for what it does now, it'd be very, very good. Like Christmas.
yeah.
It's quite something to a lot of people. Like I don't really like to force emotions, but joyfulness, hope, family, like maybe some nice snow, have some a nice surprise box of presents.
Yeah,
Even when it's supposed to be a surprise, you know it's coming, or you're not quite sure.
yeah.
It's something.
I guess, yeah, it's just, like you said, it's just not supposed to be expected. Like, just, if you want to do whatever you want or something, if there's anything you just
Yeah.
want and just want it to be expected your own way, there's already a
Mhm.
holiday to ourselves. It's called birthdays, and
Mhm.
I see this, I see that not even that's well enough for people.
Yeah. It's good. It's good to have things in place where you didn't make it, or maybe you don't even completely agree with it. It's good to have things in your life that you don't completely
The things,
want.
the things we
Or,
hate will sometimes be the things that help us the most beneficially.
yeah, that's definitely quite the how do I say? That's quite the turning point. That's kind of like the backbone. A lot of things that shows do. But what I'm getting at is that even if there's things agree with, that's what it is. Even if there's things in our life that we don't agree with, sometimes we need those things that may seem kind of boring at times, but if your life really has no major thing, if it doesn't have all these like little major things in it that you don't control, and you realize how much uh, instability there is in your life. You don't have like all these little pillars in your life keeping things stable. You kind of you
The
don't see
balance
much
and
in your life.
clarity and stability.
Yeah,
Just clarity
it just
alone.
yeah. It just makes you think. It sometimes it's good. Like in this generation, in these generations, not just this one, it's kind of good. Sometimes needed. As a human, it's kind of needed to have all these things that you don't even completely understand or control, and that you just know what they are. You maybe don't agree with like what they're for, what they were made for, but what that you understand what they do. It's good to have those things just to have them there, because without it, you just feel like you don't have anything in your life. Because like even when you have nothing in your life that you wanted, you created, or can achieve, you have these other things, and so you don't
The th
need to
the things
have.
we don't expect.
Yeah.
The people we didn't expect to meet. The plans we
Yeah.
had
Like
before. It just kind of
yeah.
achieves itself under its own circumstance.
Yeah.
I
Even when you.
before the you want to go first or
I was just trying to say, it's like, yeah. with what you said, having these like placeholders in your life, even like you just keep them for no apparent reason, and things can come out of
Yeah,
them that you
and
don't
just
expect. You don't always need to keep them, having in mind something
yeah.
unexpectedly good's going to come out of this thing as long as I have it in my
Well,
life. You don't need to keep that mentality. It's just that's an option. It's just that's a possibility that can come out of it.
well. Speaking of
Okay,
that,
you
that
go now.
was kind of my choice for a while now, and ever since I've met everyone here, I actually kind of expected the rebellion or rebel gang to be set up differently with other people that I've already known for so long. My stepbrother and a few other friends before from school, and his girlfriend, my sister, and friends that are actually on Xbox only, who've
Mm-hmm.
watching my channel. I was expecting to start it with them, but we're just so further away from each other than expected. Especially my cousin Gideon. He was passionate about YouTube, but he just kind of got stressed about it over time, and I guess I wasn't so different when it comes down to being super religious about it. Speaking of, quote unquote, when I was just like kept constantly convincing Gideon to just make more videos or something, because it just wasn't his thing over time. It wasn't his talent using Share Factory a lot and spending all that time doing the same thing. I can understand that now.
They
But
didn't work
meeting,
out as expected.
yeah, but meeting you guys, meeting everyone this year, even just knowing
Mm-hmm.
everyone for just several months, it was, it wasn't part of the plan, but it was worth it. It really helped, made a few different ideas that just kind of, it kind of helped make the accidents more worth it, I guess. Accidents are more important than constant planning. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate to have just found you guys and just kept you guys, because it just feel like some of the people in the chat and other groups that everyone is in individually, separately, could use a few help, like a lot of help from time to time, and just not can't be ignored. And if someone doesn't help them out as soon as possible, then who else would be left? Just someone's gotta do it. And even though I've already done this with so many other pairs, like so many other people over the years, and I constantly meet so many friends that just come and go, never seeing them again physically or digitally, and but I just still do it because it was still yet worth it for some reason. It's
Yeah.
just seeing you guys, the way you speak, the way some people behave. Your generation, speaking of generations, your age, your group is far more important than anything else, right? It's just far more important than how you guys may expect right now, than how you guys are far more. You guys have no idea how important your generation is right now, because you've just proven yourselves to be already have discovered all these things despite being in school, and and some people still see you as the spoiled and arrogant like arrogant young ones. But unlike people in their middle ages now, you guys are far more responsible and far more manageable than people can actually give you guys enough credit for. You guys are far more adult, basically, than most people who have rioted against the cities, all in the name of desperation and determination, just to make a fucking point. For what cause anymore?
Yeah.
So adults these
I
days
think.
are no different than any other younger organisms, any kids whatsoever. People like you, Crash, especially your age doesn't really matter. It's just what you were able to gain in your own personal circumstances, and I stayed to help make sure that that same thing happens with everyone else, so they can find their potentiality. There's no finding how, but it wouldn't hurt just find out and just Because giving up just isn't fun. It really isn't. It's comforting, but it's not fun afterwards. It just feels like a waste of time if you stopped now.
Yeah. It can be very hard to keep things going the way you planned. That's why it's very hard. I find it very hard to do a lot of major things because there are just so many things that can be unexpected, and with things like this, something you've already set out, like the rebellion, something while within it but different occurs, something good happens out of it. That's another, like, going back to what I was trying to make a point about. Things don't need to happen in an unexpectedly good way like you wanted. Even if you set something out knowing that something unexpectedly good can come out of it, you don't need to expect that. You don't need to expect something you don't know, but good will happen out of it. And so, it's just...
I guess I needed to re-experience that. I just really needed to relearn this lesson that I may have learned, that I may have found out years back, but just forgotten. Did you want to let this go for a while? I can tell that we're both just really mentally, really exhausted out of this.
Yeah, we're reaching the end of our track.
Yeah, we really changed this from religions to modern possibilities to varieties to politics. We just went left and right with this, and everything you just said was actually really helpful. I need to clip this shit just to remember.
Yeah, this reminds me when I pointed out, like sometime in algebra class, like, about how I said something like, conversations can really change. We somehow started talking about pies to people getting decapitated. What happened?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we were doing something like talking about kind of pies, and then, like then we're going over stories about how exactly people get decapitated in a car accidents.
Probably the real reason why so many religious people are being angered now, because you see all these newer generations in the LGBT and Antifa are so fucking angry for no reason and are offended by jokes that they really don't understand, and are just putting their ideas to any generation they can find, and just putting they're all like, every group is just trying to put their stuff into everyone's heads and just to make it so that they're right, and it's just unnecessary. It doesn't matter where they come from, it doesn't matter what group they're in. Every answer has a multiple answer to it. Every question, I mean, yeah, you know, you get what I mean. Almost every topic has multiple answers in one saying.
Mm-hmm.
There doesn't have to be one truth.
They're worried about the idea of something so small, so modern day, but so
fragile,
weird.
Yeah, they're afraid
weird
that
and wrong.
They're afraid if the small problem tends to be ignored and it still grows slightly, they're afraid that it'll eventually grow into something big, and that is what brings paranoia. That's what's been going on this whole time. It's distrust.
They're worried that people's heads are in some kind of gutter, and it's just that people believe that they take these old religions and they put them in other people, and just because these people have spent pretty much a lifetime going over it, just their life, and it's just already an experience when you put it into another person. They don't realize that, even though, yes, they do realize it's something that's been around for a while, they don't realize how it is seen to other people, and this old thing is not really, but can sometimes be seen as the same thing as these experienced people see this new thing coming up, because these experienced people don't realize that it's not always they don't realize that just because you put this in another person doesn't mean that person is gonna feel like this is an experienced thing.
Because
They're
they've
not
seen
gonna
it
have.
so differently.
They want this idea to change other people the way it changed them. But not only are they not realizing it's not going to affect them the same way, they don't realize that this one thing is not even going to affect them.
So we're just that's the only way to stop treachery and villainy now, huh? It's by not giving much to attention. But what if it becomes
Yeah.
physical?
It's not always something that can just be stopped. You can't always just stop something and expect that all versions of the enemy you're trying to go against, like all the different places it's placed, like the thing you're trying to stop, treachery and betrayal and disgrace, it's placed in all these different things. Those things are ideas. Treachery, that's an idea that can be placed in almost anything. And if you stop the thing that you believe is causing it, it's not going to erase it from every single thing there is. Yeah, the main idea that you think is where it is. You can get rid of that, but all these little things where it's put, like all these places, that little bit of treachery, all these little, all those little bits of it, all these different sizes of
The
it,
different
placed in all these
complications,
different places. Yeah, I
the
mean,
different setting.
you can't get rid of that all at once.
Dark Scorpion, or his real name's Daniel.
Hmm.
He was one of the original members of the rebellion. He was very, he was as wise as you, and just a bit older. He's in his 20s. He
Hmm.
said the one time that just don't make everything perfect, because if there's
Yeah.
isn't, if just everything's just 100%, if everything was perfect, then there wouldn't be any more room for change. And that was the
Yeah.
point of life if you can't do different things. It just kind of relates to what you're saying, and I've just been
Yeah.
keeping a hold of that ever since.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If you make something perfect, then that means it can fail. If you keep something open and keep it incomplete and ready to keep filling,
In
then
infinite,
it can never fail.
eternal adaption.
Yeah.
The only way to obtain spirit is with what we already have now. You don't need to build anything up. You just already have that potentiality. You already have such major capacity. Doesn't matter if you're
Hmm.
maxed out. You can still pass so many things while also being while also having such low energy.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
we'll see how this goes. I think I'm ready for the next
Yeah.
fight.
Okay.
Thanks, Crash.
No problem.